Yeah, we good now. Yeah, good money, good money, good money. All right. All right, y'all. Hey, man, welcome to another episode of Share the Vibes podcast. I am your host, Jink the DJ, founder CEO of Share the Vibes LLC. Glad to have you with us. It's been a little while, man. Been missing y'all. Hope y'all been missing me. And if you haven't, that's cool. We back in the house. Season 4 in motion. So we glad to have you with us. You know, we got a special guest with us because every guest is still special in season 4. But before we get into all that, man, my 1J, how you been, man?
Man, can't complain, man. Shoot, we just talking about the pre-production, man. Talking about we just came from Afro Tech, my first year. I think your second, third year. Am I off on that?
Second.
Second
Yep.
year.
That was my second year.
And yeah, man, just talking about how dope it was. Really great experience. I got a lot of good content coming from that. As well, of course, being in Houston. Just saying, Houston is just amazing, fun, a lot of stuff to do. Houston's just amazing, fun, a lot of stuff to do. So leave it at that. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it was really a good time. Afrotech, my first year once again, and just even been out there just seeing first of all, just seeing all the black folks out there, but seeing all the tech companies, all the different unique activations that were out there from these major companies, Amazon, Intuit. Who else was out there? SoundCloud, did a little SoundCloud meetup thing. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was definitely a lot. And I got there on the third day. So it was a lot. But so yeah, it was dope, man. And yeah, just had a good time. Now we getting into the swing of things. The holidays is coming up. You know how that goes. So I'm excited about that because I usually I'm able to spend more time on my own business. So Audio Mogul. So yeah, I'm excited.
Man, how the school year been going so far? I don't think we've been on here since the school year started. So,
No comment.
how's that been going?
No comment.
Okay, all right. Well, moving right along. Make sure you check out Audio Moguls Media. We are proud members of the Audio Moguls Podcast Network.
Man.
So super dope stuff out there. But once you got some stuff up his sleeve too, man. Apps on the way, and he getting crazy with the content. Man was in Houston with a whole drone,
Yes,
just doing stuff.
So bag now.
He got stuff in Houston I didn't even know was there. And I've been to Houston like twice every year for the last couple of years. But yeah, Monjay's in his bag out there. So shout out to you, man. Great to see you out there in Houston. Shout out to Jason and Lauren out there too, former STV podcast guests. So dope. We got to sit down, have a little margarita or two, and chop it up a little bit. So it might be some stuff in the works.
Yeah, that was dope.
In the future. So we gonna see, man. But hey, man, if you're watching this on YouTube, man, thank you for being here with us. Like, share, subscribe, comment below. Click that bell so you know when we post, and share this with somebody who needs to hear this, because you know somebody who needs to hear this. Share the vibes. Don't be stingy, man. Don't do that. Don't do that. So hey, man, we back, man. Season 4. We locked and loaded. We get into it. And we're kicking it off with a special guest. We got Mr. Carlos Scott in the building with us, man. Carlos, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. Y'all talking about one of my stomping grounds, both Afrotech and Houston. I've been when it was in Austin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate that I missed this year in Houston, because Houston is also one of my favorite cities.
Yeah.
And I just love what they're building over there with Afrotech and some of the other properties that they also manage.
Yeah, no, Afrotech is special,
Yeah.
man. Houston is special. So Carlos, if I'm not mistaken, and I apologize if I got this wrong, blame it on count to my head, not my heart. I believe Carlos is our first guest that's actually from my hometown, Fitzgerald, Georgia. Not too many people know about Fitzgerald.
That's right. Been real.
Yeah, yes, sir. That it is. So yeah, me and
dope.
Carlos are from the same hometown.
Yeah.
So when I talk about wild chickens and sweet potato festivals and stuff, like, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm excited for that today. So when we talk about Houston, so Carlos, let me know if you agree with this. Houston reminds me of a metropolitan Fitzgerald. That's how I feel when I'm here. I feel like Houston is just a metropolitan country town.
That part, yes. Yeah, that part where you threw me when you said Fitzgerald. Like, but yeah, it's one of the, I want to say, the 6th largest city in the country or in the world or whatever.
I believe it.
But it is definitely still country. Yeah. And I always reference, obviously everybody knows that Beyonce from Houston. But if you notice, when she first started out, she didn't do a lot of interviews because she was kind of ashamed of her little Houston little twang, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but now she grown, she don't care. She gonna let you hear that thing, whatever. But yeah, Houston, I love the city, man. had some great times, some great clients and friends out there. Yeah, Houston is definitely one of my top five cities in the country that I like to go to.
No, I feel it, man. I remember first time I went to Houston, we were there for our friend's wedding, and I left
Mm.
the airport, and we had to go downtown. I don't think we got on the highway at all. I'm like going through these back roads, and I looked at Drake. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm in South Georgia right now. Like
Yeah.
it was tripping me out. Cause I'm like, I've been hearing all this stuff about Houston all my life. I'm expecting something completely different. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
we in the country. They just got highways, universities, and stuff. But man, you get like in like right there down in the heart of the city, and some of just the vibes and the
Mm-hmm.
like. I went to I think the Address was my first time like in a club in Houston, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, this just kind of remind me of like Boom Boom Room, MIC Club Hurricane. It just kind of just felt like that to me. I don't know, man. So
Yeah.
Carlos know what I'm talking about more now.
Yeah.
This is
Oh
foreign to
yeah.
you, but
Yeah. Definitely.
so
Definitely,
yeah,
man.
man. So
It's
I
definitely
always
it's a Southern charm city for sure,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
they really do embrace that Southern charmness. Shout out to my late brother friend, former mayor Sylvester Turner, and the group H Town.
Yep.
They're actually my former clients, and like I said, I've had a lot of great times there in Houston, man. It's a lot of beautiful people in Houston. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's a lot of beautiful
Ah,
people
ah.
in
It,
that.
it,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is a
Just go to
beautiful
the
city.
Galleria
Oh yeah.
and post up
Oh yeah. Yeah.
around happy hour.
Right. But you know what's so funny?
Yeah.
I was shout out to John. So when you had left Devin and Lauren, everybody had left. I was kicking it with John. He was shout out to him. He was actually one of our first like real people that listened to YBO podcast when we started. Like he first bought out our ad space, whatever. So it was dope connecting with him, and he was showing me different pockets of the city. And then what I noticed about Houston was, and to what y'all said, like it'll be city and it'll be just like a random country spot right there. Like it would just be
Mm-hmm.
somebody outside with just this tractor and everything, and then it'll be city again, and then it'll be this whole little spot. So it's just like the compared to, and I told him, I was like, compared to what I like about Atlanta as well is that Atlanta has the city, and then you go
Mm-hmm.
out a little bit more, it's the country. So they had that,
Mm-hmm.
but they mixed it in together. So it was just interesting to me, just to see that when you're driving along, you just see like pockets of, oh, okay, it's a nice building, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, okay, somebody riding a tractor around. That's their form of transportation. You know what I'm saying? So
They might bring out a
it
horse.
might bring
You
out a
know.
Yeah.
horse. Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Houston is like that
yeah.
as well as even Atlanta. We got certain parts where they might bring out. They literally will bring out a horse,
That's dope.
and you'd be like,
Where's it coming from?
we like around the corner from the Mercedes Benz. Where y'all get a horse from?
By their backyard, his backyard. So they know somebody that
Yeah.
knows somebody or something. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
love about down south. It's just beautiful, man. And
Yep.
my grandparent, my grandmother's from Dumas, Arkansas, and we haven't been there in a while,
Mm.
but man, it's just,
Awesome.
yeah, it's just when you go there to, I like to go there to retreat because it's simple life, and ain't no
Mm-hmm.
tall buildings. There's only 1,000 people there, and everybody speak. Everybody, it take about maybe about 10, 15, 20 minutes just to get downtown, because it's everything so far, and you got to make one trip. If you make a mistake and miss something, you got to go back again. So it's just,
Mm-hmm.
but also one of the biggest things is when you look up in the sky, you see the stars.
Yep.
Mm.
Clear, it's a
How about
clear
that?
sky. Ain't no clouds, ain't no smoke from no factory, anything like that. It's just
Mm.
clear living in country living. They burn the trash. So I love it. I love it, man.
Wow.
Oh man. Yeah, we never got to start a podcast like this.
Dope,
See,
man.
I'm in my bag. Now I'm in my
Mm-hmm.
bag, man. So, man, so we kind of already broke the ice, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we broke the ice, man. So, Carlos, just give us a little bit of your backstory, man. Talk about, and I'm gonna be selfish. I want you to specifically get into your upbringing in
Yeah.
Fitzgerald and
Wow.
kind of how that laid the foundation for what you've been able to do now.
Oh man. Fitzgerald. I've been living here in Atlanta. I moved here from DC October 8th, 1996. Which was right after the Olympics.
I was about to say it's
And
Olympics time. Yeah.
yeah, and me and my ex-wife. But growing up in Fitzgerald, um, I tell people I had the best of both worlds. I was a part-time military brat because my mama Dot was in the Army 24 years. So I would go live with her, come back to Fitzgerald, go live with her, come back to Fitzgerald. And that actually opened my eyes to exactly that there was a world outside of just black and white folks that's in Fitzgerald, because in growing up in the 70s and 80s, that was pretty much it. Just black and white folks. And every blue moon, as we got older, you would have the migrants that would come in to do some cropping or whatever. But other than that, it was just pretty much black and white. Um, and the thing about Fitzgerald, though, what I will say, even though we lacked a lot of quote unquote like the city life resources,
Yeah.
we more than made up for it in our country life, in various aspects, especially from athletics,
Oh yeah.
even entertainment. And we just found a way out of no way. I think that's the biggest thing, is that when you're from a small country town, you have to be able to create entertainment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we don't
Absolutely.
have, it's not like in New York where you can jump on the subway, then you down in Manhattan, or you in Harlem, you whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I also feel like that's what breeded my creativity. You see, when you didn't have certain resources, you were left to your own devices to kind of entertain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, and especially growing up, I was an athlete, and then I come from a musically inclined family. Everybody know the Taylors. My dad's a Taylor, and his late brother, now he died a couple years ago, had been singing gospel for 70 years. So my grandfather used to tell me, I don't care how many touchdowns you score on Friday night, how many juke joints you go to on Saturday, but you better be somewhere near that pulpit on Sunday.
Sunday.
And I think and people, and just having good stock, ironically, like Devin's mom, she definitely, I consider her one of those people that was, just good stock of people that poured into us, that we, to be perfectly honest, we didn't realize how much was being poured into us until we got away. I know for me, when I got into the Air Force and lived around the world, and even came back to even see now, we actually had more resources to us then than, believe it or not, than we do now, which is kind of odd for me to say, much less for me to
Yeah.
think, much less say. But I love it, man. Fitzgerald birthed me into who I am today. Before I ever sung in front of 20,000 people, I sung in front of several hundred people at the Grand Theater,
Come
and
on
at the
now.
Monitor Center, and at
Yeah.
Mount Olive Baptist Church, and and so forth,
Yeah.
whatever. So I wouldn't be able to do the things that I would later do on a grander scale if I didn't cut my teeth right there at JC Stadium, and just around the town, and just doing some of the things that we did. And so that's why I will always tell people, "Oh, you from Atlanta?" No, I live
Absolutely.
in Atlanta. I claim Atlanta as my, for lack of a better term, second city or whatever. But I am a proud Fitzgerald Purple Hurricane native. You know what I mean? Because that is who, in essence, that's what I carry on my back.
Now, I'm sure my one J wheels turning right now.
Hmm.
I gotta check something real quick. Now you said the Taylors. Now are you referring to when you say like singing 70? You referring to Theodis Taylor?
That's my dad. That was my dad's oldest and only brother. Yeah.
So
Wow.
so my one J. So growing up, I took karate. So he
From
already
my
don't go with
cousin
this.
Hubert.
Hubert
Right.
Taylor. So that was my karate instructor. I never knew this connection, by the way, my one J. I'm learning this in real
Right.
time. But
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
Hubert Taylor, that was my karate teacher when
Hmm.
I was younger. I always took it. Yeah, I did
Taekwondo to be
karate.
exact.
Yeah, so I was specifically in karate, but
Mhm.
he did it all, and there was a gymnastics in the back of the gym.
Yeah.
So I was like one rank away from black, and then I started doing
Okay.
basketball and whatever else I had going on
Yeah.
band. So I didn't finish it. But yeah, man, Mr. Taylor. Anytime I
Yeah.
see him now, it's a conversation every single time.
Oh yeah, that's my first cousin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So hey
Yeah.
man, so I told you, my one J. Everybody know everybody. See,
That makes sense though. That makes sense.
Oh yeah.
I think
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's what's so dope about a smaller town is that there's this accountability piece that's there as well
Mm-hmm.
too, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
we don't have that anymore. And I going back to what you said earlier, and I understand exactly what you mean by you had more resources back then than you do now. It's because
Mm-hmm.
I'll make this argument is that a lot of people are hoarding the resources now as opposed to freely giving it away. Um, where
Mm.
you can go to a
Yeah.
karate class and almost get black belt, and you can go down the street and get this from such and such, and go down the street and get that from such and such. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's not that community that it once was, where even
Mm-mm.
my family, my pops or my grandparents would say, "Hey, uh there was they could go down the street, and if they
Hello.
got in trouble, such and such can discipline them, and then such and
Mm-hmm.
such yep,
Mhm.
yep, I got you, I see you. Can you hear it still?
Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you. Can you hear us? Oh, I don't think you can hear us.
You can't hear us. I saw you blacked out and came back. I thought your phone might have
Yeah,
died.
or somebody might have called you. Somebody might have called them.
That's possible too.
Yeah, but I
And
think
just
that was I don't know. So while we waiting for him to come back on, Devin, do you kind of figure that when you go back home? Do you kind of feel that as well too? Like there's probably more resources back then than it was now.
yeah, yeah, it's different for sure, man. And I don't know what all the factors are there. I mean, part of it, a lot of people have left. I have no intentions of moving back. This is just straight up. But I mean, it was like when my first few years, we had a bowling alley there, so you had a bowling league. So I was bowling. Like I got trophies back home, like 4 or 5 years old. I was in bowling leagues on Saturdays, and we had like a little performing arts group. So that's like when I first got introduced to public speaking and stuff. And so it was stuff like that that was around, and just a lot of that has gone now. Um,
Hey,
but
sorry about that.
yeah,
I
man,
put my
it's
phone on
yep.
do not disturb, and I don't know. I got a phone call
Phone
still
call.
came.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured you probably got a phone call that came through.
That's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, it's all
it's
good. It's
all
all
good.
Oh,
good.
it's out.
We were just talking about the resources piece, though. Devin was talking about when he goes back in town and some
Hmm.
of the things that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of like a lot of the restaurants I went to growing up are abandoned now, or something else. Or some of the businesses that used to be there aren't there anymore. So
Hmm.
you definitely see that shift, um, where it may even feel more rural now than it did growing up because a lot of those resources have
Right.
shifted. Um, but it's still special.
Hmm.
And you still you figure out how to make it work, and you have people like Carlos with Men of
Hmm.
Vision that's doing things to invest in the youth and taking them to see different college
Hmm.
campuses and different
Yo,
events, things that weren't even going on when I was there. So
Yeah.
it's things come and go, but you evolve how you continue to support
Right.
support home, and make it work. So yeah, man.
Hmm.
So Mwanja, I mean, hearing hearing this, and you think about Milwaukee, um, kind of what parallels do you hear in your mind? So because you're in a creative space as well. So
mhm,
Carlos works in marketing and PR
mhm,
on a grander scale, and you're kind of grassroots with it, teaching
mhm,
some of those
Mm.
concepts at a high school level, outside of the things you do creatively outside of the
yeah.
classroom. Um, you kind of have a better understanding of the foundation, that gave me what I got, that how does that resonate with you coming from Milwaukee, a place that has far more resources than a Fitzgerald, and is
Mhm,
much larger, more connected. You got schools, airports, and all this stuff. So,
yeah.
what's your take on all that?
Before I answer that part of the question, it just when I hear you guys talk, my favorite cousin, one of my favorite cousins is from Dumas, Arkansas. Like I said, that only
Mm-hmm.
about 1,000 people in the town, if that. He's actually in PR and marketing as well too. He works with and some of his clients is the Clark sisters and Kiera Sheard and things like that. He worked with Vashawn Mitchell, so he's in the gospel space with marketing. And so I asked him
Okay.
these same questions, like coming from Dumas, Arkansas, where it's only three schools. You got the elementary school, Dumas Elementary School, Dumas secondary school, and then
Yep.
Dumas, high school, and that's it. Ain't no college. I don't think it's a college there. If it is, it's probably a little community college, but that I don't know about somewhere. But I asked him these questions as well too. I'm like, how did living in Dumas produce your hustle? And he was like, man, it made me want to get it more. And he's like, same thing. He's not coming back. He's not living down there. But it made him want to leave because he knew that if he stayed down there, he would just be under a tree doing whatever. So
Mm.
I thought that was just interesting to see, but how being from a small town. Now going connecting that to Milwaukee, we are in quote unquote a small market, where we do have an airport, where we do have, we have the lake, we have businesses here, pretty, kind of, and we're still a growing city. But compare that to a Chicago, compare that to a New York, even compare that to an Atlanta or LA, some of these bigger Houston, some of these bigger cities that are out there, Dallas. We're kind of the city that people gloss over, they fly over. I was just listening to the Pivot over the weekend, and they had Kevin Durant on. Kevin Durant was like, well, the way I know that I'm ready to retire is if I get shipped off over to North Carolina or Milwaukee. And I'm like, dang, why you had to you bring us up? We didn't even do nothing. Yeah, we gave you buckets during the championship, but come on now, it's your fault that you had your foot was over the line. It ain't our fault. But I say that to say is that we're here in Milwaukee, and Devin, you can attest to this. You've been here for like 7 years, so we're all fighting for the same resources. We're fighting for the We Energies. We're fighting for the Milwaukee Tools. We're fighting for the Johnson Controls. We're fighting for the you name it, whoever else that we can just try to put our hands on. That everybody keeps sending the same proposals to: Milwaukee Bucks, the Brewers. Maybe if you want to venture out a little bit, go to the Packers and then go to Madison and things like that. But we're all kind of fighting the same resources, and people don't look at Milwaukee as that hub. And it might take a 50 Cent, someone from Milwaukee that's like a 50 Cent, to create a Shreveport movie
Mm.
theater
Right.
here in Milwaukee, to say, okay, Milwaukee is a destination to go in and do your new Marvel movies and things like that. Use
Mm.
our space for that. And don't get me wrong, we did have some movies here, Bridesmaids and a couple other movies, Transformers, some movies that came here and used some of our spaces, but we're still looked over as that small city, that small market city that nobody really want to, come to and bring really big And I think that's why I'm more willing to stay, because I want to see that happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
talent in Milwaukee, though. I think there's a
Oh
lot
yeah,
Absolutely.
of
absolutely.
talent in Milwaukee, and there's some resources there. I've been exposed to from a PR marketing side. You got what's that, Northwest Mutual.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
that's not.
you got the beer consortium that I call them. That are
Mhm.
there. That are no, that's those are legacy brands.
Coors, yep,
And
Coors.
then you have some talent like Speech from Arrested Development. The R&B singer Tank.
Yep,
You
yep,
know,
Mm-hmm.
the R&B singer Tank has ties there to Milwaukee. Eric Benet.
yep,
Yep.
There's some talent there. But as all of them will tell you, you kind of have to get out of Milwaukee in order to go to that next level.
absolutely.
Mm.
But don't sleep on the fact that there is. Matter of fact, there's a brother that had it's not a huge hip hop scene there, but was it Cuckoo Cal who had
Yep,
the
Oh
yep.
yeah.
oh my my
Project.
that brother got a publishing check here recently because a major brand, I won't say who the brand is, but they featured his song, as old as it is, recently in a national commercial that they had. And I was like, and obviously because I represent artists and publishing artists, I was like, oh, he
Mm-hmm.
got I know how
Mhm.
that deal. They had to cut him a check. And every time they play it,
Mm-hmm.
he's getting paid. So, but
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
do feel like I understand what you're saying, my brother. When you're in a place that, for lack of a better term, that has been looked over or maybe not seen as like the next or thriving, you
Mm-hmm.
do it does kind of burn your grinds. I mean, actually, what's the phrase? Burns at you because you
Mhm.
feel like you're overlooked. And
Yeah.
so a part of you wants to be part of that build up to the point where now you like look back, hey, well now we got so and so. Yeah, well I stayed around to help it build.
Mhm. Mhm.
And and so but yeah, I think there's a lot to that on both sides. Was that jamming? Was that jamming '98? I think
Jamming.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8.3,
98
yep.
Yeah,
three. I
98
think it
3.
is.
Yeah, these are markets, to be perfectly honest, Charlotte and Milwaukee are
Mm-hmm.
very important markets for artists because before you go to Atlanta or Chicago or DC or New York, LA, the test markets, if you will, are Milwaukee, Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
different places like that, so they can test to see, okay, how is it testing with the audience there? And if it does well there, then we'll go up to Chicago. Then we'll
Mm-hmm.
go to Atlanta. Then we'll go, you know what I'm saying? So um both of you are in cities that are very still important to the culture, but
Mm-hmm.
just on
Yeah.
different levels. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you making it by the time you making it in Atlanta, you like, Mama, I done made it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, number one, you said something. You said 50 Cent. 50 Cent from Milwaukee?
No, 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 no.
No,
I
he
was.
was he was making a reference to 50
Yep.
Cent opened a production studio in Shreveport, Louisiana, a little
Oh,
over a
okay.
year,
All right.
going on a year
Yeah.
ago. And what it did, they were already filming in the state of Louisiana. I represent several
Yeah.
actors, and we've done a lot of projects over there because similar to Georgia, where we give them the tax credits. Well, 50 Cent has about 3 or 4 different shows, movie concept, things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. And he decided that he wanted to invest on a whole nother level of having his own production studio, as opposed to, for years they've been going to other people's studios, they've been going to other people's sites,
Yeah.
they've been going. And so 50, being the, I don't think he gets the credit for being the insightful businessman that he is.
Yeah.
50 saw an
Yeah.
opportunity and was like, look, these politicians keep coming to me saying that they're going to do this. Okay, well, I'm going to take them up on this offer. And when he did that, um, to everybody's surprise, but more importantly to their pleasure, he's now operating there, and they're currently they're doing stuff out of there already. And so that's what he was saying in reference to, what if somebody like a 50 Cent came to Milwaukee? It didn't
Yeah.
have to be 50 Cent.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
saying somebody
Yeah.
like a 50 Cent or
Yeah.
came
Okay.
Yeah.
there and set up shop.
Be-
I got you. I know I ain't missed that one. Now I was like, that man from New
They
York.
went
Don't
from
don't do that
New
now.
York. No,
I should have been home by this one.
and
All
the
right. All
thing
right.
about it is, and what I'm going to see in the next 5 years, and you already saying it now. Really, it's kind of low key if you're not really in tune. But that land from Milwaukee to Prairie Land to Kenosha,
Mm-hmm.
there, and I
Mm-hmm.
put my drone over there, and I was like, it is so much land over here
Mm-hmm.
that is being
Yeah.
unused right now. I could see Facebook or Meta coming in and building their servers, and I already know
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft has already put their bid in for something that I
Mm-hmm.
heard about. Because my guy works for We Energies, and he's telling me about all these new substations that are being popped up and
Mm-hmm.
things that they got to do because they're getting ready for tech companies to come in and
Mm-hmm.
take this land and build on this land. So I could see there being something in that prairie land because it's just flat land, and
Yep.
it's. I mean, we already got the gummy bear. What's the
Yep.
Harborough?
I know what you're
Oh
talking about.
yeah. I know what you're
Yeah, and
talking
you see,
about.
and you if you ever you drove, if you drove down to Chicago, you see that big, huge factory that's right there, and it's just nothing but land there. So there's some opportunities that are coming if you got the bread to do it. But as far as Milwaukee goes, I do believe that Milwaukee does have something to say. Like
Yeah.
Andre 3000 said, Milwaukee got something to say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Carlos, man, we're doing a lot of talking here. You made references to some of these big things you've been
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Yeah,
So let's get into it, man. So talk about Envision marketing and what that is all
yeah.
about, and kind of who you are, what you've been
Oh
doing, man. Tell
man,
these
I
people why you so special.
man, I hate to talk about myself. Truly,
That's why
because
you need somebody like me and one J to
Yeah,
make you
we
look
got
good.
you.
um no, because as a PR marketing firm, primarily our job is to talk about our clients, or better yet, to put our clients on interviews, endorsement opportunities, cross marketing, you name it. Over the last 3 decades, Devin and you guys, I'm gonna tell you, I've been blessed, and I mean blessed. I don't say that lightly, to have represented and still represent a very diverse pool of clients, from 15 Olympic medalists, 9 of which are gold medalists.
Nice.
Seven track and field and two in basketball. Matter of fact, I currently represent the fastest woman in the world, Melissa Jefferson Wooden, who just made history at the World
Okay.
Championships, the World Athletic Championships of Tokyo. She became the
Okay.
first American woman to win the gold in all three, the 100, the 200, and the 4x1. And she
Awesome.
broke the championship record. She broke Shakara Richardson's record in the 100 and went undefeated. So,
Wow.
um, yeah. So, but from some of our other clients, we got a client that's coming out with a movie this weekend called The Rewrite. Terry Dawson. That is a hilarious movie. I'm not just saying it because he's our client, but it's going to be out on Fandango Home, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime. It was really killing it on the film circuit, on the film
Okay.
festival circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a lot of exciting things. I got another client that's a director as well. She Talia Breon, she just did her sixth Lifetime TV movie. We
Okay.
did two this year, and then she surprised all of us and dropped a visual digital EP where she
Okay.
dropped like I think about 10 songs and made a video to each of it's the she surprised all of us to that.
Mm.
Then I also represent outside of celebrities and Hollywood actors. One of our clients, you guys may be familiar with the Netflix series, The Outer Banks. It's a
Mhm.
very fun series. With our client E. Roger Mitchell has been in. He's been in like over 100 credits to his name with TV, film, stage plays. Matter of fact, he's had a very full circle career where he's been in the movies with Denzel Washington and Samuel Jackson. But fast
Wow.
forward, he was actually in a August Wilson play that was directed by Samuel L. Jackson's wife, and Denzel's wife he played her love interest. So he
Mm.
had a very
Oh.
full circle. So you know what I'm saying? So to play in some movies alongside their husbands and then get a chance to do
Yeah.
then we
With the wine.
have politicians. I've also been a political strategist for the last 3 decades. People like the late great John Lewis. I've been under
Yeah.
his tutelage and C.T. Vivian and have a relationship with
Mm-hmm.
people like Andrew Young and
Nice.
Keisha Lance Bottom is been a friend of mine for over 20 years.
Awesome.
Um, man, I'm in a lot of different rooms for a lot of different reasons. I tell people that all the time. And then we represent nonprofits too. And we just closed out BaldyCon, which was the fourth year. And this is a conference for women, men, and children that are bald from alopecia, cancer, lupus, or by choice. They come from
Mm.
all over, from Barbados, Jamaica, London, um, Canada, all over the country for 3 days. Well, now it's expanded to 4 days of fun and
Mm.
entertainment. And then, ironically, we on one of our nonprofit clients, we had a big announcement today. They're based in Charlotte, Devin, and it's the
Hey.
Black Girls Film Camp. We announced today that
Mm.
the illustrious veteran actress, producer, director Vanessa Bell Calloway
Oh,
just
nice.
came
Mm.
on board today. We made the announcement today that she's joined the board, and so
Yeah, I saw you post that.
like I said, I'm not a one trick pony.
Mhm.
My company. I also specialize in media crisis management. So, as my crazy country uncle from Fitzgerald, Georgia would say, he's like, "Boy, you like the Black Mirror version of Olivia Pope, but in real life, whatever." So, but as funny as that sounds, that is when you really think about it. I mean, that is because when Tiger Woods was arrested for DUI,
Yeah.
suspicion DUI, when Ryan Lochte, was accosted or arrested for what he went through at the Olympics, and when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, or whatever, every one of those incidents when uh Johnny um oh my man. uh the plays Captain uh
Oh, Johnny
Johnny
Depp.
Depp. When Johnny Depp got into his, situation with the lady that was trying to character assassinate him, I've been brought from out of the 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 wings onto the couches of CNN, CNBC, ESPN, you name it, to provide my professional insight, because I've actually been involved with navigating a lot of different celebrities, Fortune 100 companies, politicians, entertainers, you name it, behind the
Mm,
scenes,
yeah.
navigating them through that process. And so people always ask me, well, how how did you end up, being on? I said, because just being totally frank, because them folks knew uh who was behind selling this stuff. And so
Mm.
for years they asked me to, but for a long time I wouldn't. And then I finally agreed to, but only from a standpoint of, I never throw anybody on the bus. I never pile on in anybody. I am there strictly to provide insight as to what happened, what they can do to navigate from that, and provide expertise on that. If they were my client, what we would do. That is it. I never kick a man or a woman while they're down.
Mm.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, all of us, none of us are above reproach, and we
Absolutely.
can find ourselves into a situation, and you would hope that society would grant you the opportunity to kind of rewrite your wrong, and earn your keep, and
Yeah.
reestablish your brand. And that's what we do in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
That's
We're there.
yeah.
My firm is to help our clients to raise their brand awareness in a way that is what I call the three E's: enlightening, entertaining, and educational. And but we want to do it in a way that people gravitate organically to the brand, and that we can help
Mm-hmm.
them to monetize it, because we also represent, outside of the celebrities and entertainers and nonprofits. We've done some fun stuff with Fortune 500 companies, as well as emerging brands, whether that's a liquor company, whether that's a sports apparel brand, whether that is a restaurant. I got a client that's opened up a restaurant within the next, let's just say, 2 months or what have you. And so
Yeah.
involved in that. We just had a grand opening for a client that's a pet groomer. And so I had them to get to receive a proclamation from the DeKalb County CEO, and
Mm.
had them to do some TV interviews. And so um I'm in what I call a recession proof industry on both sides,
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm.
PR or marketing. We
Nice.
just came out of the pandemic a couple of years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even at the height of the pandemic, Coca-Cola was still trying to sell them cans of Coke.
Absolutely.
Yep.
BMW was still trying to get you to buy them cars. Ralph
Absolutely.
Lauren was still trying to get you to buy their cologne, their clothes, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So whether it's, as I tell people, PR is about awareness, marketing is about trying to drive revenue, trying to get somebody to buy something. And sometimes there's an overage where, if Devin has a new book coming out and I book him on Tamron Hall or on Good Morning America, even though that's a PR look, somebody's going to buy that book
Yeah.
based upon they
It's a
saw it on
marketing
on
chain.
that platform, on that
Mhm.
show. So there's some
Yeah.
overage, but they just have two different functionalities. And make a long story short, some of our clients, we do both. Some of them we do just marketing, some of them we do just PR. And but it's all about what and I just signed a college of all places. I just literally just signed a
Hmm.
college, Atlanta Metropolitan State College, about a month and a half ago. And so we got
Oh,
some things coming up with them. So
oh.
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. I saw you like you wanted to say something one Jay.
Yeah, I was gonna. I was trying to decide if I was gonna be skipping something, but I guess my question would be, it's two questions, and you can answer them in any order.
Hmm.
Um, 'Cause you mentioned earlier before, and I don't know if we recorded it then, but if we did, you mentioned that you were on the talent side first. So one question is, how did you transition from the talent side to now, representing talent? But also what from, and like I say, you can answer this in any order.
Yeah.
What from Fitzgerald did you got that got you into, kind of get you into this business now? Like, were you the friend that people came to and advised, maybe they was messing around on the girl or whatever, and they was like, all right, but this is what you need to do. You just need to tell the truth. You know, like would you what, because
I,
those kind of matriculate.
I have a
That's
very
wild.
non-traditional route to where I am, to be perfectly
Okay.
honest. Um, if someone would have told me that I would be doing what I'm doing now, I would have been like, yeah, right. Because that was so not my. Now, what I will say, even though I was a talent, played football, basketball, baseball, ran track, cross country, all that stuff, and I grew up, like I said, in a singing family,
Mhm.
and was always singing and doing plays or whatever. I was never the dumb jock.
Mm.
I always knew that I wanted to eventually, at some point, be on the business side of things. Like I looked up to people like Barry Gordy, Sam
Yeah.
Cooke, James Brown. Um, Not for what you may think. For example, Sam Cooke was one of the most prolific songwriters of his time, right? Of all time.
Peace.
Yep.
James Brown, the hardest working man in showbiz, but he owned his music. You know what I'm saying? He owned radio station. He owned his own private jet. His ironically his daughters are friends of mine and one time clients that we've done work with, and I admired them from a business standpoint of view. I always knew I wanted to be eventually an executive of some sort. I just didn't know what. But
Mhm.
God ordered my steps, and I
Yep.
saw early on um, that it was a young man's game as far as that talent. I done had three surgeries on these knees here, and so I was
Okay.
not going to be following in the footsteps of Usher or now Chris Brown or whatever. No, these knees wasn't. But I recognized that it was a young man's game, and what I mean by that is that these record labels are looking for young talent, but more importantly, they're looking for talent that doesn't know the business.
Mm.
Um, I used to represent the group 112,
Okay.
multi-platinum Grammy Award winning group 112. I was their first ever PR marketing firm
Oh, wow.
Wow.
21 years ago. When
That's a fun fact.
everybody knows
Yeah.
by now they were signed with Bad Boy for their first three albums.
Yeah.
And then when their contract ended, they went over to Def Jam. And the first album that they did, which was a great album, it's just that Def Jam didn't really put the resources behind promoting it, and they just felt like, okay, well, they got this fan base. No, you still got to promote it. Make a long
Yeah.
story short. So then Q, who I've known, like I said, I've known the guys for over 25 years. So we kept seeing each other at church and at the airport, church and at the airport. And so I was working with this kid, and you all know by the name of Jermaine Dupri.
Yeah.
Yep.
L.A. Reid had just signed one of our clients, was a teenager by the name of Jarvis, and he brought him on to the label. He made Jermaine Dupri the executive producer. Well, me with my branding, I was able to get a deal. I pitched him the Coca-Cola and the Essence for Essence. And they had him on the Coca-Cola stage and whatever. And he ended up being on the front paper. Coca-Cola was so pleased with the fact that, oh, and by the way, before he went to stage, they asked if he would wear the Coca-Cola shirt and his background down. He said, yeah, matter of fact, I'll take one too. That photo ended up on the cover the next morning
Wow.
of the biggest paper in New Orleans, the Time Picayune, and Coca-Cola was ringing my phone, and I'm like, who is this calling at 7:30 morning? So finally, it's the Coca-Cola exec. Hey, y'all seen the paper there? I'm like, what paper? It's like the paper outside your door. And so I picked up the paper. What? And so they were so pleased. that for the rest of the summer, they put us on everything Coca-Cola touched, whether it was an
Mm.
amusement park, whether it was we did a tour with Doug Banks and the Sprite Jam Session tour. It was with
Wow.
Monica, Calvin Richardson, Juvenile, some other
Mm.
people. So all this because I just so happened to position my client's brand with one of the biggest brands in the world, and they became they felt like, hey, we can take this somewhere else, whatever. But you know, it's just that's just kind of one of those fun stories or whatever. But nonetheless, like I said, I used to be represent 112, and I found out they did not have their own publishing. It was through Puffy because I kept trying to figure out why do I keep having to call Bad Boy when I every time I
Mm.
book y'all on TV to do something perform, and it was
Yeah.
because he had signed them through a publishing deal through his own publishing when technically the label isn't supposed to have anything to do with your publishing. That's supposed to be separate. But
Mm.
nonetheless, these
Bad
these are
boy.
learning. These are things that artists learn.
Bad
I
boy.
learned myself, and so when I saw that, they wanted to have these young and inexperienced and novice artists, I said, you know what? Now is the time for me to pivot to something else. Eventually, it was
Mm.
it was brand marketing, and then eventually I signed my first NFL client, and I
Love
did
it.
this thing. Y'all probably heard of Terrell Owens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Terrell
TO.
Yeah.
Owens is a good
Yeah.
friend of mine and wanted me to produce his back to camp weekend. And I asked him to play in a celebrity basketball tournament for the V103. And he had heard through the grapevine what I was doing on the brand marketing
Mm.
side and stuff. So he was like, "Hey man, I want you to work with me on this and take it to the next level." So me and my good friend Keisha, with Insights, uh, we came together, made that thing huge. And this is when Mike Vick, Charles Woodson,
Yeah.
Terrell, all these guys were at the height of their careers.
Mm.
Donovan McNabb, you name it, and
Mm-hmm.
and we blew that thing out. And so as they say, from there, the rest is history. Like I said, 9 Olympic gold medalists later, 5 Super Bowl champions, Hollywood actors, Grammy Award winning artists, New York
Like,
Times best-selling authors, celebrity chefs, TV hosts, it's a very diverse pool of clients. But like I said, that's what I didn't have a traditional way to get to that. I just knew that the pivot needed to come, and I was fortunate to already have relationships with a lot of people. And then I got great mentors, man. One of my mentors was the head of marketing for McDonald's.
oh, love it. Okay.
Then my other mentor, and that was on the marketing side, on the PR side, one of my he's no longer here now, but he's an ancestor, but he was the head of PR for Chick-fil-A for like 28 years. And this is a black man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
man.
both of these are black men that I'm talking about. And so
Yeah.
having those type of people at my phone call away, CT Vivian, John Lewis, another friend of mine who was, the head of marketing over one of the biggest black owned agencies, and he used to be also over Coke. He signed New Edition in '84 to be the brand ambassadors for what was called New Coke, right?
Mm.
Mm.
Fast forward in 2004 when I was representing 112, he was over Lincoln, Ford, and Mercury, and I pitched 112 to be considered. And he
Mm.
he he eventually they made the decision. They made New Edition. New Edition was a little bit older, and they fit more to demo. And it was a full
Yeah.
circle moment
Yeah.
for him because he signed 30 years before that. He had signed those young guys to be the face of New Coke, and then 30 years later, he signed them to be the face of Lincoln for the MKZ series or
Yeah.
MKZ. I think I'm
Yeah.
saying that right, but anyway, you
That
know,
that man, that's so dope.
yeah.
It's so funny you mentioned Chick-fil-A. One of the reasons why it took me a little bit longer to get here, I was talking to one of my So I run the media over at my church, and I'm mentoring a lot of the kids there to kind of take over some of the jobs because I can't do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were talking because she's struggling in business class. I'm like, I went to school for business. Like, let me help you out. So we were having a conversation, and she was going over these different terms, and one of the terms was, she's like, "What is a franchise?" And I was like, "Well, you know Chick-fil-A, like, you know," and you just
Oh,
brought up
okay.
Chick-fil-A. I did not know that a black man was over, you know, I think you said the marketing of
PR.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, he was over PR. He was a
PR,
spokesperson.
and I did not know that. And it just kind of just reminds, let people know that just for me, it just put things in perspective of like why I love business so much and why I went to school for it.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, going from electrical engineering to business into marketing was
Mm-hmm.
because that we're in the space. Like one of my favorite marketers out there is what's her name? I'm probably gonna say her name wrong, but it's uh Bo Mama
Boz. That's my
yes, Bob.
girl. That's
Yeah,
my
like
girl.
I think she just not too, but maybe a couple years ago just got into the marketing hall of fame. Now, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
she did. She did. She used to be over at Apple, from Netflix,
Pepsi,
Pepsi,
right?
where
Yep, Pepsi.
and then she's on a new show. Her and Jimmy Fallon,
Yeah,
got a new
yeah,
show out right now. So,
yeah.
she good people, man. I mean, she as great as she is from a marketing. She's as sweet as can be as a human being. Somebody
Dope.
that always will pick up the phone, and it's never been like, oh, I'm so up here. So yeah, she's great, man, and I'm happy for her, newly engaged and all that other stuff too. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's good people, man. Boz is the real deal.
And I just think this is so dope just to see us, people that look like us in this space. And now I can go back and tell kids like this is an opportunity for you to get in because there are people that look like us in this space
Hmm.
over these brands that you might not think that you could be over. One of the things I just, I wanted to get even dig a little deeper was, so you made that transition from being talent, and you kind of got into it, in this unique way,
Hmm.
not traditional way. So
Yeah.
who was the first client, and how did you get them to trust you?
Um,
Hmm.
one of my I used to, like I said, I had I got into it doing event marketing.
Okay.
And basically, you got brands like Remy Martin. Um,
Yeah.
uh, you guys may not be old enough to remember, but there was a brand called Hypnotic, and
Yep, I remember Hypnotic.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do events. Me and my former business partner, and liquor companies are always looking to sponsor stuff. So we would hit up the liquor sponsors, and then one of my friends at the time was the head of marketing for the East Coast for Remy Martin. I had so much Remy stuff, people thought that I worked for Remy. And because and then I don't drink. So when people would come to my house, they'd be like, God dang, what's all this Remy? It's from the event the other night. And so I'd be giving out like cases of the stuff because I don't drink. So, but eventually what happened was, through me making moves, I'd always been around athletes. Some of the guys that I played against, ran against, or whatever, ended up going to the NFL or in the NBA or whatever. And so I was always in the circle of those people. Um, One of my former business partners and friend to this day is a former first round pick, Delano DeShields. The father was drafted out of by the Expos, which is
Okay.
now the
Yeah.
Washington Nationals. But in 1987, he was the first round pick, number 12 overall, and he just so happened to his now ex-wife, but then girlfriend, eventually wife, went to University of Tennessee. So did two of my cousins from Fitzgerald, Georgia, Sean and Rodney Thompson. Sean was an All American in
Oh yeah,
basketball.
Rodney. Yeah.
Rodney was an All American in track. And
Mm-hmm.
so, with us always going back and forth up there, he was playing what you call farm league baseball at the time, and would come and meet us. And then, so he eventually, real quick, he ended up making it to the majors and played, I think, like 16 years altogether. And he ended up, they lived in Atlanta. They moved to Atlanta, and he bought this house and wanted to start this studio and recording company. And he thought that I was just going there to record. So one day he saw that I was actually in there making music, and he was like, well, who produced this? And he's like, oh, and the engineer was like, oh, well, this is well, Carlos came with the, whatever. And so, and I thought about it. He said, man, I want you to be part of what we're doing. At the time, living upstairs was this guy, this producer from Chicago, who he met when he was playing with the Cubs. There's a young man by the name of Kanye West. The guy that taught Kanye West everything from about production, his name is No ID.
Mm-hmm.
No ID was staying. They had brokered this deal where he'd stay there rent free. All he had to do was every now and then throw a beat or whatever case may be. And so while we were there, I decided over the weekend. I said I don't want to be another producer. I said I want to. Oh, and I had gotten out of the Air Force because I was singing songs, and so I got out of the Air Force because I got a deal to write songs, a publishing deal, and and so unbeknownst to me, that was short lived. There was a lot of like crazy. You hear about these crazy deals. Well, I was in one of them, but luckily it bellied up sooner than not later, and so that made me a free agent. And then that's when I eventually moved to Atlanta and so forth. And then by this time now, Delano is starting his thing, and then I used to have a band. I would sing around Atlanta, have my own little band, Celos and Express One. I had my little band, and so we decided, and then but my business partner as well that I was doing these events with, I just it was like, man, this is what's missing. My first NFL client was a guy named Jerron Bolden. He came to Terrell Owens' event that weekend, and he was like, man, this is great. My birthday coming up. I want you to do my birthday. And then so and I asked him, I said, well, hey, what's your publicist's name so I can contact them and put this on your schedule or whatever? And he was like, what's a publicist?
Uh-oh.
Ding 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 ding.
So
Is that
and I
me?
was like, man, and I knew he was a good guy. And I said, man, I said, you always go to support, you know, Alan Rossum and these other guys and whatever they're doing. I said, you need to be doing your own thing. And he said, well, man, well, sign me up. Well, make me your client and whatever. And he was
Nice.
my first NFL client. Well, technically from that part, from like being his representation, because even though I did the weekend party for Terrell
Mhm.
had his own like
Gotcha.
agent and publicist or whatever case may be, but we worked with him specifically just on doing that weekend. Jerron was my first fully wrapped around. Okay, this is my client to be getting out to go and doing endorsement deals and PR and whatever, and then um Terrence Trammell, who ironically was that yesterday or was it yesterday the Omegas just had their um uh
Yeah, the founders there today.
yeah, and he was his agent, who was also his sister-in-law, um asked me to work. I asked him, I just wanted him to speak to these kids. He came, he spoke to the kids at this back to school event that we did, and she then was like, hey, we need somebody that does, what you do. And so that was my first Olympic athlete. And then just the rest, at the end of the day, as my late mentor would say, if you build it first, they'll come.
Mm.
And I've never taken out an ad. I've never, none of the things that you would tell somebody to do, I've never done. It's my work speaks for itself. And my people say all the time, well, how do you get clients? I said, I don't want to insult you and whatever your religious beliefs are. But to make a long story short, God orders my steps and my phone
Oh,
rings.
yeah.
It's just that simple. You know, it is what it
Man,
is, my brother.
that it's so much packed up in that,
Man.
man.
And that's 3 decades
Good
later. So
gracious.
that was in 2000. This was in like the
Yeah.
early 2000s. And went on to start on this journey, so from 2000 to 2010, 2020, so that's like I said, that's 3 decades of receipts. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, man. Because I wanted to ask, like, what was that pivotal moment that kind of got you on this going? So you kind of got into that. So I want to go. So you, when we go back to you being an artist, let's share the vibes. We talk about music a lot here, so we got to connect them dots here. So as an artist, you were writing and you got into this publishing
Mm-hmm.
deal, and we hear all the horror stories with crazy publishing deals, and you were in one of those, you got out
Yeah.
of it. I'm sure that, and you talk about ordering your steps. We gonna go down a different path. Some one J, he get in the pulpit a little bit too. So
Okay.
we're well rounded around here. My dean is actually in the middle of a series at his church in Nashville, One City Church, which is doing phenomenal. But he's in the middle of a vision series right
Mm-hmm.
now. I mean, his latest message was around blurred vision.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how I think he came from Habakkuk this week, and Habakkuk had to be positioned in the right place with the right posture to get the clarity he needed from God. To get that vision. I sent it to him one J, but
We were just talking about
I don't even know how.
yesterday. That's why I was like, wow. 'Cause literally my pastor and first lady tag team, and he came from Habakkuk, and they talked about write the vision, make it plain. That's
Yeah,
what's going on here.
yeah. And cause you were earlier, man, you said I don't know, we're gonna go on a different path there, but nonetheless, you talk about ordering your steps. So going through that experience as an
Mm-hmm.
artist, even coming from Fitzgerald,
Mm-hmm.
limited resources, you become an artist, you get in this crazy
Mm-hmm.
deal. Now you say, all right, I got to make a pivot. Boom. All right, let me get in. I'm doing event marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm getting to the PR and marketing space. Those lessons from that artist phase, I imagine that had to be like a strong cornerstone of the foundation of your approach to PR and marketing
Yeah.
as you build more clients. Talk about that thread.
And I left out the fact that during that time I also started like really, really doing my acting thing. I've been in some films with like Denzel Washington, Cicely Tyson,
Mm,
Queen Latifah, Hill Harper, who is still to this day one of my best friends.
okay.
And for me, I feel like my super strength, if you will, is the fact that I was the talent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like the talent, like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm an NFL player, how would I want my brand to be represented? If I'm an R&B singer,
Mm-hmm.
how would I want my brand? What kind of opportunities would I want? If I was a singer, what would all of these things. And so I feel like that is my leg up on the competition. Whereas the average publicist has never sung in front of 20,000 people. Doesn't
Mhm.
know what it's like to hit a 3-pointer or to score a touchdown or to be in a movie alongside freaking Denzel Washington or Cicely so I feel
Yeah.
like I've had a lot of all of those experiences wrapped into and being in the studio with one of my favorite artists of all time, Joe, and having the opportunity to really, for lack of a better term, go go ham, go hard or go hard or go home. And so I feel like people often ask me, do I miss being on that side of things? Yeah, when I'm riding down the road and I hear certain artists and I'm like, man, he cannot sing. And it's like, you know, and it's like really, this is what y'all doing? And or sometime on the good side, sometime I might hear artists and they blowing. It's like, man, and it takes me back to, oh man, do I need to go back in here and whatever? But but I really ultimately feel like everything that I've been through as the talent has ultimately prepared me to be as an executive how
Mhm.
to position their brands. And I think of somebody like L.A. Reid, who I just got a chance to reconnect with at the Jennifer Hudson show.
Nice.
Again, remember he signed our client. So I'm walking down the hallway and I see LA and LA was like, hey, what's going on? So we catch up for briefly, but LA used to be in the deal. Him and Babyface
Mm-hmm.
were in a group called The Deal. So
Mm.
I think sometimes people forget that he played the drums, whatever. But that man knows talent. He has an eye and an ear for talent.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe me, there's a group that literally just came off the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that he signed when they were just 18, 19 years old by the name of
Mhm.
Outkast. Okay.
Mhm.
The South got something to say, baby. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's funny. Um Andre 3000, his late mother was a dear friend of mine.
Mm.
Mm.
And I didn't know she was Three Stacks' mom. She
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
she at the time, all I know is the guys where I worked, where we would have meetings, and the boss would tell us, "Hey, don't park over there, especially after 9 o'clock, because it's a real estate company over there, and they're gonna be fussing whatever." Well, it was her real estate company, so
Ah.
in order to make up for the guys parking over there a little bit longer than normal, I would take her and her I think it was her daughter-in-law or whatever. I take them to lunch. I say, hey, it's Friday, I'm gonna take y'all to lunch, whatever, whatever. So one day she agrees to go to lunch, and all of a sudden this Land Cruiser goes up. She said, "Oh my gosh, I forgot my son was coming. You mind my son coming?" I was like, "No, I don't care." Well, her son gets out the car, and it's Andre 3000. And so, but when I tell you that um the stories that she told me about him and just supporting him through that kind of transition, a difficult time, and trying to find himself, and then getting into this group, she ain't know
Yeah.
nothing about rap or whatever, but she was like, look, my son needed this. He was in
Mhm.
a, he was trying to, find himself, and just at a very, whatever. And so her thing was, she didn't know anything about it,
Mm.
but she saw that he was committed to it. And so
Yeah.
whether that was him, like you say, getting on that martyr, jump on that, that's real life. He would get on the martyr and go over there to Rico Wade's mama's house, where they called the dungeon, and
Mhm.
record, and to see that a mama just supporting her teenage, for all intents purposes, wayward son who's trying to figure this thing out, to see him now get his flowers 30 years later in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, man, it's just,
Amazing. Full circle.
I just I just wish she was here to see it, man. That just, yeah,
Yeah. Man,
yeah.
man. You know this you have the experience as an
Mm-hmm.
artist and an
Mm-hmm.
executive, which puts you in a unique position
Mm-hmm.
to really set people up for
Right.
success.
If they listen.
Yeah, if they listen. So
Good.
going along those points, when you're with your clients, what would you say is your how do I want to phrase that? What would you say is your, I don't know if form is the word I'm looking for, but what's like the maybe the core tenets or the core principles when you're working with a
I know what
client
you're
that
trying to say. I know what you're,
yeah.
yeah. And it varies from client to client, because every client has a different brand, and then every
Mm-hmm.
client has a different end game of what they're trying to reach, right? I could be
Yeah.
representing two running backs at the same time, but one running back wants to, for lack of a better term, he knows that he wants to go the Magic Johnson route, if one day becoming like this successful entrepreneur or whatever. Then
Yeah.
I could be representing another running back, same age, but his thing is he really wants to do things more on philanthropic, or just, or whatever, just, or maybe want to go into sports journalism, whatever. So
Yeah.
it really depends on what their goal is. Whatever they
Mm-hmm.
tell me their goal is, that's the blueprint or the roadmap that we then, everything we do is to set that up. Now, with that being said, regardless of what their roadmap is or goals are, there's certain things that are just, regardless, that are transferable.
Right.
Work ethic. I
Mm-hmm.
can't want this. My team can't want this for you more than you. You got to meet us. You got to meet us
Yeah.
halfway, or better yet, we both got to be 100% dialed in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then the other thing is um the listening part. Like, why go out here and hire one of the best that has ever did it, I'm gonna get my own self to pat on the back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
do it.
if you're not gonna listen to me, I've had how
Mm-hmm.
many clients over at Nike? I've had how many clients over to these big. So I understand some of the pitfalls, good and bad, or whatever things from some of these deals. So I'm now able to tell you, hey, we're not going to sign this type of deal because this is what's going to possibly happen if you do this type of deal. We're going to do something that gives you more creative freedom, and then on top of that too, more of a financial payout than this traditional deal that
Yeah.
maybe somebody else would have did, whatever. And so a lot of times we're just there really as conduits to try to right the ship, to route the ship, so to speak. So that
Yeah.
because they got, especially let's just stay in the athlete's frame, right?
Yeah.
As an athlete, you have a very, very small window to make this money, stack this money, and then pivot to whatever else because
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about a 4 to 5 year window, give or take what league and what position you playing, and you're still going to be a considerably young man or woman. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You could
Yep.
legitimately play 5 or 6 years, which qualifies you for pension, and I think in all of the major sports, and still be only 26 years old.
Yep.
So what are you going to do after that? And the thing that I tell our clients, especially on the talent side, if you listen to us, whatever it is that you want to do 5, 10 years from now, you'll be doing that because you want to do it, not because you have to do it.
Yeah.
And some people um are more inclined to listen, and some people aren't. And those are the sad cases because you see so much potential in people, but they're listening to Pookie and Rodney and Pookie and Ray
Mhm.
Ray and them or whatever, as opposed to listening to your agent who graduated magna cum laude from Harvard and knows, you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make
Right.
any sense. But to keep it simple, there's certain, it's just that work ethic, discipline, integrity, um and pardon the pun, but you got to be, one of my favorite shows right now, podcast, is the Pivot podcast.
Yep, yep, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I got a client that we play in phone tag. We're gonna do the Pivot here soon. But I love that from the standpoint of all of the guys they had to pivot, right? They were NFL stars. Matter of fact, they were with somebody else. I ain't gonna get into all that. We all know who they were with. And that deal ended up not working. So they ended up the three of them having to pivot, pardon the pun. And now here they've, got their own situation. The same thing like, I just had a client. Matter of fact, we've done several shows on the nightcap with Shannon Anderson and Ocho Cinco,
Yeah.
and that show is having tremendous success. Um, but because of how they're able to, in real life, in real time, see what's going on in the culture, bring it into the show, and but be able to talk about it in a way with both of their um um Ocho hasn't officially been inducted yet, but his numbers, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think
Yeah.
he'll get there sooner than later. I mean, for
I would
one,
imagine.
Ocho, for whatever people think about him, um, I still call him Chad, but people refer to him Ocho. Um,
Yep.
he's a good guy. He's done some good things with his brand. He hasn't had a real negative brand like that. So I think he'll get in there. So, but the fact that they're able to do what they're able to do is because of the work ethic that all of these guys um bring to that table. You know what I mean, to their platforms. And so, and these are things that I try to obviously bring to our clients, especially ones that are still active as far as athletics is concerned, is, hey, if you take care of your brand while you're playing, there are going to be opportunities for you, plentiful, when you're done, because people are going to remember, hey, when I wanted so and so on my, to come over here, he came. When I wanted him. But if you act like a jerk to these people, let you go ahead and tear your ACL, or nobody want to sign you. Guess
Yeah.
what? Now them phone calls ain't they're not being returned back as quickly, or in some cases at all.
Mm.
So, you know, I
That's
hope
I,
that
I feel
answered
like
your
that's
question. I hope
something.
that answered your question, McGlynn.
Yeah, yeah, and I even wanted to take that a step further just to make it even more plain for the listeners out there. Especially some of the musicians and the artists who,
Mm-hmm.
who who may be listening here. But no, I often do a presentation around personal branding for
Mm-hmm.
students, early career
Mm-hmm.
professionals. And I talk about the pie model, which I imagine you're familiar
Mm-hmm.
with performance, image, and exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And in that model, we say 10% of your personal brand is performance, 30% is image, 60% is exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those parts are equally important.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how the percentage of your brand they make up. Without that 10% performance, none of the rest even
Mm-hmm.
matters. So, is there a model or maybe like the 3 to 5 core elements of a brand that you think is like pretty consistent across the board? I think how you build that brand is going to vary based on goals, but are there like a consistent set like elements of a brand?
I call it the three C's. Um, Clarity,
Hmm, good
consistency,
one.
and you got to be concise.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else other than that, you're just adding too much on it. You got to have clarity. People have to look at whether it's your Instagram, your Facebook, how you walk, how you show up in interviews, whatever, and they got to have clarity about what your brand is, and more importantly, what it isn't. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be consistent with that, right? And and concise. And I think if you wrap all of those three C's all in together, the one thing that you'll never have to worry about is people being confused about what your brand is, right?
Yeah, void,
They
void the fourth C.
right, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, and I think so often, and I'll tell a client, especially a new client, as we're discovering, okay, what we're going to be doing, what we're not going to do, and I tell them, you can't be all things to all people.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the three things that mean the most to you, from especially from a like if you're a recording artist, right? Just because you're a recording
Mm-hmm.
artist, this still, what do you want to do with your brand and this success?
Yeah.
You gotta want to do more than just buy spinners on your car, and whatever and all that stuff. So for me, it's, what are you going to do with that success in that platform? What are you going to do that makes people like, oh, you know what? I like what they're doing. Oh, I can say I rock with what they're doing. Whether that is giving back to support youth, especially in the arts, whether that's supporting other things, other causes. Let's say, for example, if you might be an artist and your grandmother might have passed away from cancer or whatever. So you're like, you know what? I'm gonna donate to Cancer Society. I'm gonna do whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important for you to establish those core kind of three things that you're willing to attach your brand to, or causes, and then anything else after that. It's not like we're going to tell it no, but these are the main things that we're focused on, and anything
Yeah.
that falls outside of those main three, we're only going to do them, if you ain't doing nothing else.
Mm.
B,
Mm-hmm.
if it's, you got the time, the freedom to do that. You don't have any other obligation within those first three. And then four, and then the last one is, if you want to. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You can't be, I think so often we try to pigeonhole celebrities, artists, athletes, entertainers, and make them, oh, he should be doing this. You don't know what that man is doing or that woman is doing. Or maybe you do, but you think just because they're doing A, that they should automatically be doing X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
Look at somebody like LeBron, right? LeBron LeBron has been able to really he's one of one from a standpoint of he came into the game as this generational talent on the court,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
but he had a nucleus of people and influences that guided him off the court. But LeBron still himself wants to do and is wanted to do great things with his brand. Like he's got his own school, he's got his own foundation. He's a great husband, he's a great father. He's essentially the poster child for what you want a pro athlete to be.
Mhm.
He's made
Yeah.
sound investments.
Yeah.
He's
Mhm.
not, so
Spring Spring Hill's a great company. I mean, they're producing so many great content from the
yeah.
shop to I think he might have had Spring Hill might have had their hand in Space Jam too. So
Yeah, that's one of the and so him, Maverick, Randy, who people sometimes forget, and Rich, like these guys, and I'm proud of them. I tell Rich when I said, man, I'm proud of the elevation of them because they finally figured it out and they're doing it right now.
yeah,
There was a period when, and I tell people, I say, I'm not. There was a period when they weren't, but you got to put yourself in their shoes. And we've all been young in our early 20s. Our time. You wouldn't have figured it out at 25 either. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
Right.
So I'm not gonna, burn the house down because at 25, 26, yeah, they weren't calling folks back. They weren't doing what it is what it is. Now they finally got with a great model, a great role model, and somebody to really kind of paint a blueprint for them, and it's been winning. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I listened and I brought up the shop because I was listening to it last week when he had Wale on, Kev on stage, Lil Rel, and a couple other folks. Oh, who else was on there
I
too?
gotta get back
Basketball.
on the shop, man.
It was
I used to
good.
watch it consistently, man. I
Um,
gotta get back on it.
dang, who was it? Was I forgot? It was a basketball player. I can't think of his name of right now. But he was six man of the year. What was his name? I can't think of it.
James
Jamal
Harden.
Crawford.
Jamal
Uh,
Crawford,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Jamal
No,
Crawford's on
okay.
there. I'm like, I'm tripping. Why I couldn't think of Jamal Crawford?
yeah,
But while
crossover king.
crossover king. Wale made a good point. He said that going back to what you were saying about Rich and Brian and Maverick, all of them, and Randy, they their model is unique because even if you look back over the years, everybody that tried to do that model, what they're doing right now is where you got your friends, you got the core athlete.
It
Nobody else
didn't
has
work.
it didn't work. Jay-Z, I mean, they brought up so many different groups and it did not work. And for some reason, their group worked and it stuck together. And I guess you could contribute it to a few factors, but I think one of them is just I think it's just the core of it that they really are friends. Like they really are friends. There's no from what I'm seeing on the outside looking in, there's no hidden agendas. There's
Yeah,
no nothing. They are really here. But they all have their role too. Like nobody's not trying to be LeBron.
right. That's
You
I
know?
think that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that dynamic. And I first met LeBron when he was 16. My guys at Nike, he came in the time like, hey, you got to go down here to Augusta with me. I'm like, what is it, man? This kid. I'm like, LeBron. Like, who is LeBron James? So went down there, and he was literally like a grown man playing against boys in the backyard. It's like, and then like 2 months later, I think he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated or something like that, whatever. So to see that and witness that, and then some of the other things. And I remember, ironically, when I was representing 112, being at Def Jam headquarters, I'm like, who is that guy right there? I'm like, oh, that's in that was because LeBron was only like maybe had just got drafted like maybe the year before or something like that, whatever. But it was Maverick. Maverick was up there. I don't even know what he was doing up there, but he was up there kind of like shadowing Jay-Z.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
Mm.
And yeah, and so, but it's like these guys have been afforded opportunities that obviously, the conduit to that is LeBron, but I feel like the thing that makes all of them and their union unique is they all have a different lane. And
Mm-hmm.
LeBron's is, we don't even have to say what LeBron's is. But Maverick has always been positioned more so as quote unquote like the brainchild slash, you know, CEO, if you will, to kind of rock the ship. Randy was, recognized early that he wanted to be in basketball from an operational standpoint of view. And Rich eventually, like for him, he has a crazy story because he didn't go to school with LeBron now. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
know that, but he didn't.
Mm.
He
I read his
didn't.
book.
Yeah, they met ironically at around the time, but they met. LeBron liked the fact that he was wearing these like throwback jerseys and whatever,
Mhm.
and so they just instantly clicked over that.
Yeah.
And he,
Mm.
from that point on, kind of, ran off to the hills with that. But they have a very very unique relationship that is built on first and foremost trust. There's no ego. There's no and then and I got to give LeBron his credit. What really makes it work is that he wants his friends to succeed at
Yeah.
every turn. And because he wants his friends to succeed, he's been very dogmatic about giving them an opportunity that on paper they shouldn't have had. I
Mm.
mean, just I mean,
Mm.
we're just gonna call a thing a thing.
Yeah.
On
True.
paper, Maverick had no business being up at Def Jam. Rich with no college degree, no nothing, had no business shadowing. Matter of fact, that is why LeBron dropped his initial agent, because his initial agent, for lack of a better term, was not interested in taking Rich under his wings and doing, because at the end of, and no fault to him, to be perfectly honest, because this man has a business to run. Okay,
Right.
and his business, which had been very successful, mind you, for decades. Okay, this is the same guy that used to represent Gary Payton, and the list goes on, and Dwight Howard and others. So he just didn't have the time nor the bandwidth to be taking Rich under him. He just didn't. And so
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, at the earliest he could, cut ties. And when he signed with the next guy, which is Leon Rose, he told him, okay, this is it. I'm going to sign with you, but only if you agree that you're going to take my boy under your wing and show him whatever, whatever. And he did. Fast forward, Leon Rose is where he is now, obviously, from, in the NBA world. And then obviously, think about it, Rich has now positioned his brand and his agency into to become one of the most dominant agents in the NBA. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
I had to
So
make.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, so but you got to give credit LeBron to LeBron, because LeBron could have been like, hey, I'm gonna have you doing these club appearances and you can do whatever, but don't touch my money. You know what I'm saying? So, but he
Right.
was adamant, like, no, I see this in you. You can do it. Da 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 da. Whatever. And so, it is what it is.
That's
Love
good
to
stuff,
see it,
man.
Yeah.
man. Love to see
That's
it.
really good
Man,
stuff.
I got a one more question that's in my mind, and then I want you to let you take us wherever you want to take
Okay.
us. If you got somewhere to take us, so we've talked a lot about kind of the PR side of
Mm-hmm.
things, the marketing side of things.
Mm-hmm.
The part we haven't gotten to is as much as around endorsements
Mm-hmm.
and sponsorships.
Oh yeah.
So a big part of Share the Vibes is we have an annual music and technology
Mm-hmm.
festival. Part of my growth through this has been reaching out to
Mm-hmm.
companies and trying to get sponsorships to put on these events. So now, what can you talk about on the endorsement and the sponsorship side of things of securing funds for these brands?
Um, I'm gonna keep it simple, and I'm gonna keep reiterating what was taught to me. If you build it first, they will come. Period. Okay. When I say they, as in the brands, the sponsorships, and the companies or whatever. Um, the company that I referenced earlier, Baldycon, um, this year we added on some more new sponsors, some pharmaceutical companies. We've had RBM of Mercedes as our official um, vehicle sponsor. We had Bevel to come on. We've had, but the reality is, if I didn't have them featured on Good Morning America, Essence, Ebony, Black Enterprise, all these different, platforms and things of that nature, that is what these brands, they want to know that they're assigning, that they're putting their money, their name, their influence, all of that to a moving ship.
You talking
And
about Bevel? Is that correct? You talking about Bevel?
yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I got to talk about that. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
Because Bevel, these are women that their heads are bald, some other shade. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure, okay, well, hey,
Right.
you might want to,
Mm-hmm.
get this to these women or whatever. So they saw the vision, love all the assets and the creative, like, hey, how can we get in? And but then you got to understand, the other part of that is you got to research these companies, research and find out what other what are the core things that they do sponsor. And if what you're trying to do doesn't fit within the core of those three or four things, I'm not going to say throw it away, but there might be and a conversation need to be had, because um if they're not doing it, that might be outside of the core of what their focus is. Then on the other side, it could be a situation where no one has pitched them to do what you're doing or whatever, but you gotta, I think, if you are intentional about going after brands that already align with your mission and would already align with what you guys are doing, your success rate will be that much higher, because now you're not trying to pitch somebody to do something they've never done. You're just trying to get them to do it with you all. Now, the
Yeah.
other part of it is, as you start to grow and you're up into year 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, now they're like, oh, wait a minute, it's been around for 6 years. Something must be going on, right? So
Mm.
longevity has its place,
Yeah. Yeah.
because initially the first 2 or 3 years, or even 4 years, you can't be frustrated if a brand, especially a Fortune 100 company, doesn't quite feel that your conference or your event or whatever you're doing might not be ready yet, because in their mind it just it might be a little bit too early. So they might have we like it, but let's see if this sticks, because what they don't want to do is invest into something that is headed down the field. They rather
Yeah.
invest in something that's tried and true, and it's got the numbers and the data. Keep up with your data. Keep up with your numbers, and your impressions and things of that nature, because these are the things they're going to want to know. Not just how many people attended. How many people attended is one thing, but how many
Mm-hmm.
impressions did you guys have, like through online media,
Right.
earned media, advertisement, influence, all of those things, right? And when you're able to show them the those receipts, now they figure, okay, they can get their bang for the buck. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how that, I think that's the other thing. That's the main thing, is just really doing your research, having an understanding of what they sponsor, what they don't sponsor, and trying to find that soft spot into presenting it to them in a way that it makes sense for them.
Now, is numbers a big factor in that? Of course, I guess that's probably a silly question, but I guess the question would be how much do numbers are a factor in that? Whereas, like, okay, say for instance, the numbers aren't necessarily there, but the idea is there, and
Well,
like
the
you said,
numbers are always there. When I say numbers, like for example, Afrotech, they got crazy numbers from a standpoint
Mhm.
of attendance and whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
the attendance piece might not initially be there because it is what it is, but the numbers from an impression, like you might have, like y'all might have had, features in Essence, Ebony, Black Enterprise, Why, just different magazines or outlets that meant you might have gotten millions, tens of millions of impressions, but you might have only hadn't had 120 people. Don't discount those tens of millions of
Right.
impressions
Got you.
because those things matter as well. But obviously, however many people that you can get to actually come physically to, that's gonna trump. That's gonna almost trump anything from from an impression standpoint of view. Because if you say that you got 5,000 people to come to Charlotte or Wisconsin or Atlanta to come and buy tickets and in person, that tells any company, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is viable.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are people, there's somebody that's a very, very well known public figure, speaker, whatever, that just had an event and invited my client. My client was like flabbergasted. She sent me a video. She was like, oh my God. She was surprised at how little people were there
Mm.
compared to, and this is somebody, and she was like, and she said, "Man, I'm so glad that I have you and that we doing and that you got because you got to build it first." And I said, in all fairness to the person that invited her, who was her conference, I didn't see any advertising. I didn't
Mm.
see her doing on the local TV shows or anything like that, whatever. So you can't just pitch a tent, post it on Instagram, and think, okay, everybody gonna see it. You
Yeah.
still have to do the
Right.
grind work. You still have to do the PR and the marketing, whatever. So, but yeah, if you build it first, and you got to be consistent, you got to be dogmatic about that thing. Matter of fact, you got to almost make people tired of seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Um, because the algorithm is so messed up and all over the place
Yep.
that, to be perfectly
Yep.
honest, you do have to post this stuff like sometimes 3 or 4 times a day or whatever, just so that if they didn't see the first one, maybe they sent the second one or so. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
the key to that is you got to be consistent. And if these brands see that you're being consistent, and the consistency is, and you start talking about those years. Like the event that you talked about, Devin, how long has that been going on? Y'all are y'all at year three, four? Where y'all
We
at?
just we just did the fourth one.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So now you're going into year five. And so we already rolled out a big 5 year campaign. We're gonna go 5 different cities, so now these brands that we're talking about bigger money because we're talking a bigger rollout plan. So
Mm-hmm.
and because we've done Vogue magazine, Essence, Ebony, Black Enterprise, Good Morning America, and all this other stuff, iHeart, they see the vision and they believe in it. Like, oh, okay, well, now we don't have to sell them on the idea. We're just talking strategy and talking numbers and things of that nature because they see and they trust in our capability of being able to take their brand, attach it to my client's brand, and then everybody win.
Mm.
That's what you got to.
That's
That's the
good.
last thing I'm gonna say to both of y'all in reference to that. You got to find a way to show a way for the brands to win. It can't be about you
Mm-hmm.
winning. Oh, we gonna, whatever. You got to show them a win. Show them, and if
Mm.
you can show them a way that they're gonna win, yeah, they're gonna sign up.
That's good, man. I hope y'all listening
Yeah,
out there,
man.
man.
Mhm.
Gems
Go.
in here.
Just
Yeah,
go. Just go right here. Just
hmm
go.
yeah.
Um. So what would you if you a PR company that's just starting out
hmm
and I think a PR company first thing Devin I think of is Carbon Stone because they Carbon Stone was
Oh
here in
yeah.
Milwaukee. They are a shout out to Naisha. She is a PR company slash media company
hmm
called Carbon Stone where they only focus on positive news. They don't focus on any negative news. So any
mm
article that they do is really unique where it's all about positivity, regardless of who you are, black, white, whatever. It's we're not talking about who got shot, who got killed. We're talking about we're talking about who's doing great things in the city. Now they
Right.
are. She's right now. She's from Milwaukee. She still does Milwaukee stuff, and I'm pitching her a business now. But she's also in Atlanta right now,
Hmm.
and I noticed that. And this is a side note. I noticed too that by her being in Milwaukee, as soon as she got to Atlanta, everything started opening up for her. She got deals with Amazon. She started getting
Mhm.
deals with all these different places. Going back to, like I said, Milwaukee is this smaller city. We all fight for the same resources.
Mhm.
But here, when you go down to Atlanta, everything just started opening up. That's besides the point. What I'm getting at though is let's say you're a PR company that's starting out and you're trying to get these brand deals for your client, or you're trying to work with these Fortune 500 companies. Who should folks be reaching out to? Is it the head of marketing? Is it the how should they be networking?
I get this all the time, and I already know where you're going with it.
Mhm,
To be perfectly honest, um, most people, there's an assumption. Well, he's the CMO, or she's the CMO, or she's director of marketing, whatever, and you're not wrong in your assessment of what their title is, right?
mhm,
But what their title is, compared to what their functionality is and their responsibility
mhm.
is, are two different things.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay.
The CMO of Coca-Cola or Ford is not signing talent. These companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars with ad agencies that they or various agencies. And now, because, for example, because the influencer world is so big, you got agency now that all they do is represent influencers, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So, but the agency of record, depending on whatever niche that you're trying to get them in, those are the people that need to be actually pitched. Because, to be perfectly honest, even if you were to reach out to said director of marketing at AT&T or whoever, all they're really going to do, if they are interested, is then turn you.
Uh-oh, got a call.
Yeah, yeah. So you hear me?
Uh-oh.
All they're going to do is
Yep.
turn you over to their
Yeah, I hear you
agency.
now.
Yep.
What was that?
because
You
the
said turn you
because
over to
think
where?
about it. If you and Devin are spending $150 million every year on your brand with this agency, I might be naive, but something tell me that y'all gonna make them earn every bit of that $150 million that y'all paying. So it's their job to do the vetting for you all.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
As the CMO or director or any kind of capacity of marketing for these companies, your job is to work with these agencies from a standpoint of just making sure they stay in line with the core fundamentals of what the brand stands about. Your job is to keep them on brand, so to speak, so that they don't go out here and come up with some concept that's so far removed from who you all are. But at the end of the day, you're going to it's the agencies that they work with that are going to have that they're going to be your biggest ally. Now, I will say this: if it's nothing wrong with the CMO or the director of marketing being an ally or a strong supporter of you or your client or whatever, because at the end of the day, they do foot the check. So if the director of marketing is adamant or keeps bringing up this recording artist or whatever, the ad agency at some point they were like, hey, let's kick the tires around with this person. At least let's do the vetting and take it up another level to see. And then during that process, they might discover, oh, this is a good fit. Or during that kicking the tires around, they might discover some things that the CMO didn't know. Like, hey, we met with them and their management, and they sent over everything. And to make a long story short, there were some things that came up in their background that are kind of problematic. And make a long story short, we can't co-sign on
Mhm.
on making them a brand ambassador, because we don't want XYZ to come up that they did 2 years ago to still kind of lingering on. And that's why you pay them,
Mm-hmm.
because it's their job to do the vetting and to find out, okay, is this a good fit? Do they have anything in their background in the recent future or whatever in recent past that could come back and haunt us, and then have our shareholders trying to withdraw their investment or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, there's no right or wrong
Right.
per
Yeah.
se, but I just felt it was important that I explain to you the functionality and how that thing works. You know what I'm saying? So,
No, I appreciate that. I think it's good for me too because running Audio Moguls Media, one of the biggest things now that I'm really looking to is to figure out, okay, we got this network. How do we get brands to come and say, hey, we want to deal with Audio Moguls Media? We got Share the Vibes, we got On What Though podcast, we got Woman in the Mirror, we got all these different unique shows of black voices. Now, how do we get in? 'Cause, you know, my competitors, I look
I know
at
something.
okay, let's look at Black Effect, which is with Charlemagne, and yeah, so, and then we got who else is over there too? I forgot another network.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
a live podcast network with Angel Livas. And so you got all these different podcast networks that are out there.
Hmm.
Angel Livas got Tamar Braxton, and then she got all these other things. So I'm like watching these people move and groove, and I'm like, okay, how do we position ourselves in this space as well too, to get not only just the brands but also the eyeballs as well,
Well,
which is one of the reasons why I'm starting
that's why
my
they, like,
own
for example, you talk about Charlemagne,
app so I
right?
can go
And it's
and promote it.
controversial or whatever it is people want to say. At the end of the day, the man
Mhm.
is his brand is one of the most recognizable brands in the culture. And so he gets a lot of eyeballs, and then he's assigned
Absolutely.
to or
Yeah.
signed to iHeart, which is one of the biggest. Well, so
I heard.
their
Mhm.
brand footprint is way larger than your brand footprint. So at the end of the day, you can't do
Mhm.
anything about the fact that your brand footprint isn't as large. But what you can do is make sure that the quality of your content is on par, and that any whether you got 300 viewers or 3 million that may have, no one should be able to look at your content and be like, oh, I saw that, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I tell people, don't worry so much always about, it's not the
Mhm.
numbers per se as much as it is also the production. And if you can get something, and I've built podcast,
Yeah.
I've had clients when I was executive producer of their digital shows and stuff like that when we were in the middle of the pandemic, and the pandemic was a blessing, believe it or not, because people that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to
It
get
was.
to, because everybody was sitting at home, we were able to get them to log in, do whatever, give them a script and give them their login thing. Okay, hey, make sure to whatever. And we knocked that thing out. And when I tell you, some of the people to this day, we haven't done,
Yeah.
matter of fact, I don't even represent that client anymore. Nothing against her. It's just, we just don't work with each other anymore. People to this day still be like, hey, man, when y'all had Anthony Hamilton on, hey, man, when y'all had 112, when y'all had Dr. Fauci, when y'all had Hugh Harper, it's like, man, how was y'all able? And it's like, well, have some people in my Rolodex. I mean, I just shot them a text, say, hey, man, we're doing whatever. And so, because I had
Mhm.
that relationship with them, sold them what we were doing, they were like, hey, send me the link, put it
Right.
on my calendar, and we're going to do it. And so, but it all goes down to, and if you don't forget if you don't remember anything I tell you, if you build it first, they will come. Don't be afraid to build anything, but you gotta start with building
Mhm.
it. And then, if it's a quality, because even myself, like, I'll do a podcast that ain't nobody ever heard of. If the assets that they sent me look good, it was clean, it was well, just like, oh, you know what, hey, they're fairly new, or they
Mhm.
have whatever, but I really like their editing. I really like how they do whatever. I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'll book my client who might have just won an Emmy, or who might just, have the hottest TV show on whatever network. I'll book them on it from the vantage point of, if someone were to see this interview, even if they didn't know the person that they were being interviewed by, the look is so professional and so clean in the way they do it, that it's not going to be a mark against them. Now on the flip side, you can't be bad. You can't be low numbers and horribly produced in the same. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, that just yeah.
Come on.
Right.
Yeah. You're right.
Hmm.
You're right. I had just had a seminar last Saturday. Well, it's 2 Saturdays ago. I'm sorry. And that was like my biggest thing. I told because they were asking about podcasting, and I've been in it for almost 10 years now. And I tell people, I was like, since I've been doing this thing, the 5 things that I've noticed is boom, 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 boom. But the 2 things I want you to understand when you do a podcast is quality and consistency. And I always give the reference of, we born in the '90s, so we remember
Hmm.
CDs, right?
Right.
The guy try to give you your mixtape, try to give you a mixtape and put it in the CD player, and it sounds like trash. Same thing with a podcast. If you are doing a podcast and you don't have to have the high dollar mics,
Hmm.
but you have to be clear and
Yeah.
clear and consistent and have great
Yeah.
quality in it. So I'm glad you said that, and that just
Especially if you
reaffirms
got a good
everything that
editor. Like
that
we
I've
had
been
a
telling
great
folks
editor with that
that you
show.
gotta have.
Like people, I would have people calling me thinking it was on TV. Like, hey man, what channel is? I saw it. I said, no, bro, it's a digital. It's just go to her YouTube, go to her Instagram. Oh, okay, man, but it's so clean. I know we got. Now, granted, the people that we had working on it, their day job was at NBC, CNN, or whatever. These different major brands. So we already had the concept was great, but the delivery and the execution is what sold it. So even because you got to remember, if I'm going to ask my friend Hill Harper, who is a 5-time best-selling author and Barack Obama's best friend, and all this, if I'm gonna ask this man who's on the number one of the top shows on ABC, The Good Doctor, or whatever, if I'm gonna ask him to come onto this show to to lend his brand credibility to that, the least I can do is make sure that we have ours together so that when we do send him that asset and whatever, or my man Anthony Hamilton right there in Charlotte, one of my favorite to this date trailers that I've ever had was Anthony Hamilton, because he was like, hey, he sung his intro like, hey, I'm gonna be on the, hey, and it was just so, when I sent that to my client, she was like, oh my God. I said, no, I didn't tell him to do that. He just did it. Now, granted, I've known Anthony and his manager for over 2 decades, and Anthony and my client used to be label mates. So, but nonetheless, and then 112, I used to represent 112. So, oh, anything for you, dog. So, but I could not set them up to be on something that wasn't well produced, so that if they're going to share it to their content, their page, it has to be on the same level of the Breakfast Club or the Charlemagne or whatever, or Joe Budden or whoever the case may be, Roland Martin or you name it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. All right. But yeah, it's been good
So
talking to
That's
you too,
real, man.
brothers. And
Man,
like I
it's been
said,
so much in this conversation, man.
Um,
We could
I
we
look
could
forward
we
to
could
seeing y'all work y'all magic and editing and chopping up. I apologize about the on my end. I don't know, but I guess the for your platform or what you guys use, Samsung. I guess my Samsung tablet might have been, might not been the ideal, whereas Apple, with this app, I'm on my Apple phone, but the only thing is, like I said, even though I put it on do not disturb, it was still, I'm like, man, what's going on anyway? But I think it's because I got like some favorites, and I think,
Mm.
if I'm not
it's
mistaken,
like,
I think the favorites, they'll still end up coming in there or whatever. But yeah, I
yep,
got to do something about that too.
go
But
through.
anyway,
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
yeah.
good. No,
But I
It's
look
all
forward to.
good,
But
man.
yeah,
We,
but
we we've
keep
had
on. I
bigger
see you got your
tech
Afro
issues,
Tech
yeah.
shirt on there,
so
whatever.
we
Uh,
we
yeah,
got
man. I
through.
think that is like I said. I
Yeah,
really love
yeah.
what they're building, man. The last one I went to was in Austin, and you know we push the culture. Whatever we do, we push the culture,
Yes, we
and
do.
and for them to recognize that and be like, look. we need to have our own conference with our own whatever, and networking these people because they are getting major brands, and obviously it helps that they also have Blavity and some other moving pieces to that. Some of my friends are over
Yeah.
there as well so, and I'm just proud of what they're doing, and it's only going to get bigger and better every year.
Yeah. Yeah, Morgan Devon is cold. Yeah,
Absolutely.
she definitely got in right
Mhm.
away when the digital stuff started to happen. Where you wanted a digital page and you wanted to. She got in where the shade rooms and who else was on there?
Yeah,
Oh, what's the other people?
yeah.
Karen Civil and all that stuff like that in that time frame when that was big
The
and just
difference
popping
between
and
her and I
yeah, she
think
caught
some
one. She
like
definitely caught one.
they've always had a very clean and corporate type of approach and positioning to their brand, whereas Shade Room nothing.
Yeah.
And I know that sister. I've met that sister. We were at that White House together one time. The sister that founded Shade Room, but I think there's a very corporate structure and a clean structure that if I'm a Google, if I'm a Ford, if I'm a whoever, I think they find the properties that they manage within them as safe enough to wrap around. Whereas even though Shade Room has big numbers, the reality is because of the content is so
Mm-hmm.
what it is, some brands not don't really want to put
Mhm.
their arm around that, you know what I'm saying? So or yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. No, that makes
Nah,
sense.
for
Yep.
sure.
Man.
Man, this
Woo.
has been this has been one of the ones, man. I'm so glad we
Yeah.
got you on, Carlos,
Yeah.
man.
Yep. Yep.
Showing
Masterclass.
people
We
man,
more than the wild
Fitzgerald
chicken
is a
fest.
real place with real people. We do real things out here, man. So I'm so glad.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad we got you on here, man. Just before
Oh
we go, man,
man.
how can people connect with you? What's up next
Just
for you? What should people be
I'm
on the lookout
simple.
for from
I'm
you and your
on
vision?
LinkedIn and Instagram as my name, Carlos Scott. Um, um, I deleted Twitter for the obvious, or now X for the I think for the obvious reason I'm not supporting anything certain people are behind. LinkedIn, Instagram,
Mm.
Threads too, or whatever. But it's just Carlos Scott, and that's the website as well, envisionmarketinginc.com. But I promise you, please don't go there because it hadn't been updated in 13, 14. There's a whole nother. All I do is pay to keep it renewed so that nobody don't steal it. But everything they can go to LinkedIn or Instagram, hit the contact button, and that is my cell and email, and that comes directly to me. I'm very, as I often tell people, I'm very easy to find. I'm not hard to
Yeah.
find.
I'm
Mhm.
Hey, I'm laughing at your
Nope.
website. I went to your
The
website.
story behind that
It's got
is
another one
my
somewhere.
longtime assistant went on maternity leave, and 2 kids later, 15
Mm.
years and 2 kids later, she never came back. Her husband decided that he wanted to stay home with the kids, and that was her job. But then Instagram started to come on, and then Facebook started. So I
Hmm.
just started to,
Yep.
to really focus on posting all the stuff on my social media, and just all I do
Yeah.
is renew it just so that people don't steal it, and that's it, man.
Right.
Yep.
Hey, I feel it.
So dope.
Well, hey man, hey, we got it in the description, so
Mhm.
make sure you click that. We got it all linked down there
Mhm.
so you can tap in with Carlos. Remember, one J, any last thoughts from you before we wrap up,
Mhm.
man?
Just once again, thank you for just popping on in and just sharing your knowledge. And
Yeah.
of course, I mean, we could probably talk to you for another 2 4 hours, but of course, we want to respect your time. But also, I think this is great for me too, because once again, I'm
Mhm.
somebody that went to school for marketing. I teach students marketing,
Mhm.
and just
Mhm.
knowing that there's someone that looks like me that's out there
Oh yeah.
doing it successfully, man of God that's doing it successfully. I really truly appreciate that, and like I said, just sharing your knowledge is always truly
It's
grateful
called
for
paying
that
it
because you
forward, my
a lot of
man.
people could
It's called
gatekeep and when
yeah.
people don't
Yep.
And for and
Well,
you
y'all take
did
it
it.
easy. I
You
look
did it. And I
forward to getting
appreciate
the
that.
assets to
Absolutely.
that y'all want me to post to
Absolutely.
promote it when it goes live. All right. All right.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir. We'll have that for you soon. Well, hey, for y'all, thank you for watching. If you're still with us to the end, man, you love us, so we appreciate you. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment below if you're on YouTube. Share this with somebody who needs to hear the conversation, because you know somebody who needs to hear it, so share the
Absolutely.
vibes. Don't be stingy. Man, hey, we love y'all. Stay safe out here. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. All that good stuff. But until next time, stay safe, stay blessed. Keep sharing the vibes. Peace.
Peace.